In the heart of the sprawling city lived a young man named Leo. He was a dreamer, but his dreams were shackled by the cold reality of his empty pockets every dawn. He'd watch the river of luxury cars flow past his tiny apartment window, whispering to himself, "If only I had money, everything would be different." He believed wealth was the key that would unlock a life of happiness, respect, and freedom. So, he chased it relentlessly. He worked 3 jobs, sacrificing sleep, friendships, and the simple joys of life. He invested his meager savings into one get-rich-quick scheme after another, each promising a shortcut to the life he craved. But the universe had a different lesson in store for him. One scheme collapsed, taking his life savings with it. Another turned out to be a fraud, leaving him deeper in debt than before. The weight of his failures was crushing. He looked at his reflection, a tired, hollowed-out version of the hopeful boy he once was. The city lights, once a symbol of opportunity, now seemed to mock him. Despair was a cold, heavy blanket. He felt lost, invisible, and utterly defeated. He had gambled everything on the belief that money was the answer, and he had lost. At his lowest point, curled up in his small room, a profound silence fell over him. In that silence, he heard a voice not from without, but from within. It was the whisper of his own forgotten spirit. It reminded him of the boy who loved to paint, who found joy in creating something from nothing, who was kind to strangers not for gain, but because it felt right. He had been so focused on what he didn't have that he'd forgotten the treasures he already possessed, his creativity, his compassion, his resilience. That night, something shifted. The desperation began to recede, replaced by a quiet resolve. The next morning, Leo didn't head to his grueling jobs. Instead, he pulled out an old, dusty canvas and a set of worn-out paints. He began to paint, not for money, but for the sheer love of it. He painted the city not as a monument to wealth, but as a tapestry of human stories. He painted the faces of the weary, the hopeful, the resilient people he saw every day. His art was raw, honest, and filled with the emotion of his own journey. He poured his pain, his hope, and his newfound understanding onto the canvas. He started displaying his art on a small corner of a busy street. At first, people just walked by, but slowly, they began to notice. They saw not just paint on a canvas, but a reflection of their own struggles and dreams. An elderly woman bought a small painting of a single flower growing through a crack in the pavement. "It reminds me to keep going," she said, her eyes glistening. A young couple bought a piece depicting Angta hands clasped together. "It's our story," they smiled. Each sale wasn't just a transaction. It was a connection, a shared piece of humanity. Leo wasn't getting rich, not in the way he had once dreamed. But his life was becoming richer than he could have ever imagined. He woke up each day with a purpose. He found joy not in accumulating wealth, but in creating value. He learned that kindness was a currency more powerful than any dollar. He'd often give small prints to children or share his lunch with a homeless man who sat near his spot. In giving, he received a sense of fulfillment that money could never buy. He was building a community around his art, one brush stroke, one conversation, one act of kindness at a time. His journey was slow and steady. There were still difficult days when he barely made enough to get by, but the desperation was gone. He no longer measured his worth by his bank account. He measured it by the smiles he inspired, the conversations he started, and the beauty he brought into the world. He learned that perseverance wasn't about chasing a distant, glittering prize, but about showing up every day for the things that truly matter. It was about believing in his own vision, even when no one else did. Years passed. Leo's street corner grew into a small gallery. His name became known, not for his wealth, but for his soul-stirring art and his unwavering spirit. He became a mentor to other young artists, teaching them what he had learned, that the most important investment you can ever make is in yourself. He taught them that self-belief is the foundation upon which all great things are built. He showed them that true success isn't about what you acquire, but about who you become in the process. One evening, a wealthy businessman, the kind of man Leo once envied, stood before one of his largest paintings. It depicted a single, massive tree, its roots digging deep into the earth. its branches reaching for the sky, weathering a fierce storm. The man was moved to tears. "I have everything," he confessed to Leo, "but I feel nothing. Your painting. It has more life in it than my entire mansion." In that moment, Leo understood. He had spent years chasing what that man had, only to discover that the man was now seeking what Leo had found. Leo's journey taught him the most profound lesson of all. The happiness he had so desperately sought was never in the city's towering skyscrapers or fancy cars. It was never about the balance in a bank account. It was waiting for him all along in the quiet chambers of his own heart. It was in the courage to face his failures, the resilience to start again, the kindness he shared with the world, and the unwavering belief in his own unique gifts. True success isn't a destination you arrive at. With wealth, it's a path you walk with purpose. It doesn't come from the outside in, it blossoms from the inside out. Because success, in its truest and most meaningful form, begins within. Thank you so much for watching and sharing this journey with me. If this story resonated with you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more stories that inspire and uplift. Until next time, remember to look within.